Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. So with the Act 8 Crucible coming out tomorrow, thought it would be helpful to kind of give everybody a brief refresher course on the 4 Ouroboros bosses, which I think are going to be the 4 most challenging fights in the content. So earlier today I went back into Act 8 and did a run against each of these 4 bosses with the champion that I had marked down for myself in my planning sheet. So we're going to start off with Saitalis here, and my champ is Apocalypse. Now the first thing you want to know about this fight is that whenever you use your second medium attack, Saitalis has a guaranteed chance to evade that hit, and if you block her counterattack, it gives you a little bit of power, and you can use this to your advantage throughout the fight, making sure that you have access to specials, which you will need to deal with the big mechanic in the fight, which is her traps. So she will place traps either on her special 1 or her special 2, depending on the phase of the fight. And at the start of the fight in Phase 1, you can use any attack to knock her into her own traps, which is kind of the goal here. But later on in the fight from Phase 2 and on, you need to knock her into the traps via a heavy or a special attack. So giving yourself power by intentionally doing that second medium, triggering her evade, and blocking that counterattack is a really good way to do that. So as I was yapping here, we've already moved into Phase 2, but in Phase 1, she's going to throw the trap on her special 1, and again, the goal here is to push her into her own traps with any attack. Now in Phase 2 and beyond, as I said a moment ago, you can only use a heavy attack or a special attack to push her into those traps. In addition, you have to wait for the trap to be armed. And in each subsequent phase, the trap is going to take longer to arm. So you need to be patient. Once you see the trap appear from her special attack, you kind of just want to dance around a little bit. You don't want to give her too much power, because if she continuously throws traps, she's going to eventually push you back into your corner, and you're going to have a very bad time. If you get caught in one of her traps, she goes passively unblockable, also a very, very bad time. So we are about to move into Phase 3 here. The traps will be back on her special 1. And again, you don't want to be so aggressive once she has the traps set, because if you continuously push her over a bar of power and she's throwing more specials, the traps will eventually get closer and closer to the corner. And if you get caught in one of the traps, she goes passively unblockable, and it's just a really, really bad time. Now we're approaching the final phase here, where you want to be baiting her special 2. The traps will be on the special 2. And you want to have a mutant champ for this fight, because if you use specials with prowess, that is going to be what reduces her armor rating. So you can see she has an 85 or 95% damage reduction there. And if you use a special attack with a prowess, the prowess is going to be consumed, and that's what's going to be reducing her armor. So as you use more specials with more prowess, she's going to take closer and closer to full damage. And I think that's like the last 5% or so of the fight is how that works here. So here we go. We've moved into Phase 4. We've already reduced the armor by, it looks like, 5%. We've lost one of our prowesses, as you can see. Now, Apoc, he's okay for this. You know, he gets 1 prowess at the start from his persistent charge. You get prowesses throughout the rest of the fight by pushing her into her own traps. So you might have to do that more than a couple times in this final phase to get yourself enough prowess if you aren't using somebody with access to natural prowess like a Storm or a Dust or a Captain Britain. Any of those champs will be able to do this. But eventually you're just going to whittle her down here. We've got the armor down to 50% here. You see we've run out of prowess. So now what I have to do is I have to knock her back into one of her own traps in order to generate additional prowess for myself, which I can then use to remove more armor. So I waited till the trap was active. We got 2 prowess there, instantly consumed them with the special attack, and you can see we reduced her armor from 50% to 30%. Pushing her back to the special 2. The special 2 is a very easy dex. You can just outrange it after you dex that first blast on the ground there. And again, you don't want to be too aggressive here. Wait until you see that the trap is about to get armed, and then you can fire off a special attack and push her into it just like I am doing here. And I think this ends up killing her. So all in all, a pretty easy fight, a lot easier than what I remember it anyway. Now, I am assuming that these bosses will be tuned up a bit, so you shouldn't expect the fight to go that quickly. Moving on to the Bahamut boss, and for this fight, I'm going to be using Chilth. Chilth is a fantastic option for this boss. You really want somebody with access to Cleanse or Purify, and Chilth has it in spades against a Gamma champ. So the idea here is that you want to stay close to Bahamut. When that gray timer expires, he's either going to get a yellow charge or he's going to get a red charge. If he gets too many red charges, the fight is going to be over. If he gets a yellow charge, that's great. If he gets up to 3 of them, then he's going to fire a radiation blast after his special attack. Now, the first time he does this, you need to use a special attack into the blast, and that's going to get you one of the green removal charges. And then once you have a removal charge, you again need to build him back up to 3 of those yellow tokens, make him fire off a special attack, and then you remove his armor. And that method of removal is different per phase. In phase 1 here, it's just a knockdown, so you can see we already kind of went through one of the wounded phases here. Now, one reason why Cheel is so good in this fight and Purify and Cleanse champs are so good is because whenever you Purify or Cleanse a debuff in this fight, it automatically grants him one of those yellow volatility charges, and he's going to be placing random debuffs on you whenever he uses a special attack. So lots of opportunities in here for free volatility charges if you're using the proper kind of champion here. The AI is a little goofy when you're trying to use special attacks into the blast sometimes, but you are unstoppable and indestructible when you do this, so it's not terribly dangerous. Another big thing that you need to be aware of in this fight is that you need to alternate your special attacks just like you would be doing with the Hurt Locker node. You see there's a number 2 on my side of the screen. That means I used my special 2 most recently, so you need to be alternating your special attacks. The other thing you can't do is hit into his block more than twice within like a 6-second period. If you do it once, he gets like a yellow timer on him, and then if you hit him again while he's got that timer on him, he goes unstoppable. Not a huge problem for Cheel because she has access to that grit and can counter, but something you want to be aware of for other champs. Now we are in phase 3 here, so we need to parry the blast once we have a removal charge. So again, you need to use a special into the blast to get the removal charge, build him back up to 3+ of those tokens, and then when he fires the radiation blast again, you need to parry it. In phase 3, it could possibly be a fire blast, and the only way to tell is if his armor turns orange. You have a very brief window to tell if it's going to be a fire blast. Fire blast cannot be parried, you need to dex it, and I think it's like a 25% chance. In this fight, I recall, it felt like, yeah, so here we go. Right here we get a fire blast. His armor's orange. We have to dex it. It was tough for me to like line up like the right special attack, trying to get a removal charge here with getting like an actual radiation blast and not a fire blast. So I kind of stalled out a little bit here, as you'll be able to see. So again, I don't have a special attack available for that radiation blast. We kind of just have to start over. We've got 4 tokens on him now. Now we are set, assuming this isn't a fire blast, but of course, once again, it is, so we kind of have to go back to the drawing table. So you can get a little bit of bad luck in this fight if you continuously get fire blast, but again, stay patient. The chip damage in this fight isn't crazy. This is only a rank 3 Cheel, and again, I'm assuming that these fights will be tuned up a little bit, given that we have access to much stronger champs these days, but just kind of stick with it here. So we're going to, again, push him back up to a bar of power, and we're trying to get ourselves up to the special 2 so that we can possibly use the special 2 into the radiation blast, baiting out a heavy there. Unfortunately, he didn't want a heavy, he wanted to throw his special into my block. Once again, we have to just dex the radiation blast there because we can't use our special 1 or it's going to trigger that same special twice in a row thing. So finally here we are at special 2. He's got enough charges for a blast. Can we get an actual radiation blast and not a fire blast? Yes, we can. Finally, fire off the special 2 into there. Now you can see we have 3 of the green removal charges, and now we can build him back up to 3 of those volatility charges, and now we can start pairing the blast. Now, in the last phase, once we get there, remember, we're going to have to repeatedly parry the blast, kind of like play like a ping pong type game. It's actually, I think the designer, he likened it to one of the Zelda games. You have to do a similar mechanic with Ganon and Link, and that's where he got the inspiration for this. So a little bit of trivia there for Bahamut. We are pretty close here to getting him into the next phase. Parried the blast, knock him down. I tried for the stand-up intercept, was not successful, but we are doing so much damage here, as you can see, from just a handful of bleeds. This is, again, why Cheel is such a great option for this fight. We're going to fire off the special 1 before we get to the special 2. Again, keeping in mind that Hurt Locker type requirement for this fight. And now we are about to push him into phase 4. So in this phase, pretty much the same as the previous phase. Again, I know I sound like a broken record, but you need to get a removal charge. I think in the final phase you get one permanently. So again, just push him to 3+ of those yellow tokens, and then you need to be parrying the Radiation Blast when he fires it off. And then in this phase, remember, you need to repeatedly parry it, so you got to really, really pay attention to the timing here. So here we go. 1. Oh, nope. I screwed that one up and apparently got hit by it, so we're going to have to start over again. So, again, stay calm, stay patient, make mistakes, it's okay. One mistake in these fights is not going to kill you until you get to like the final phase of Glacon. But we'll talk about that when we get there. So again, another attempt here. We didn't have enough yellow tokens there, so he didn't fire off the Radiation Blast. So again, staying patient, working him back up to a bar of power. I don't really like to bait the special 2 in this fight. I find the special 1 much easier to deal with. There we go. Fire it off. Ping-ponging it back and forth. Every time you successfully ping-pong that, it's going to reduce his armor rating. So similar to the Saitalis fight, at the end of the fight, you need to eventually reduce his armor to 0 so that he can take maximum damage. And we've got him down to 50% armor at this point. So we're kind of, again, trying to stay close to him, getting that token up. He's got 4, so we should be ready for another Radiation Blast here. Again, it could possibly be a Fire Blast. Got to pay attention to the color of his armor. Ping-ponging back and forth, and we've got it down from 50 to 10%, and he is taking almost full damage here. We're doing, again, some good bleed damage. He's got a lot of health, so those bleeds are ticking for a lot, but you know, it's still working its way slowly through his health pool. Firing off. Oh, thought I was going to use the special 1 there. Trying to stay close to him so that he gets that. Okay, so right there you see I was too far away from him and he got one of those red charges. So if he gets too many of those, he goes into like some weird gamma overload mode where he puts incinerates on you. You really want to avoid that if possible. So again, skill champ, focus on somebody who can purify, who can cleanse. Shield, a phenomenal option for this fight if you have her. Alright, let's move on to fight number 3, which is one of my favorite fights in the game. This is the Saras boss from 836. Now, in this fight, you want to use a Cosmic Champ, ideally somebody who has access to many unique buffs. The more unique buffs you have access to, the faster you're going to be able to disable his armor. So, what you want to do in this fight is, unlike the previous 2 bosses, Saras has 3 types of armor, and you need to alternate removing them. So you remove them by knocking him down, you remove them by hitting into his block, and then you remove them by hitting him with a striker. But you can't do the same thing twice in a row. So you can see like the first armor is gray there. That's because we just knocked him down. Now we want to bait a special attack. He will auto block after all of his specials, so you can punish, and then that counts as a blocked hit, which is actually a very, very clever gameplay mechanic. And then once you eliminate some of his armor, it will become locked. And the idea is you want to get all 3 of those armors down to 0, and that's going to trigger the passive stun, and you'll be given doing a lot of damage. Now, one thing that's different about the phase transitions in this fight, as you just saw, is when the icons are flashing purple like that, you need to perform an intercept in order to move on to the next phase. He will not move by himself into the next phase until you intercept him. Now in phase 2, pretty much the same thing. If you let the armors recharge all the way, bad things happen. But again, as long as you're trying to stick to like a pattern, a routine, a rhythm here, you're going to be just fine. So what you're seeing me kind of do here is bait out a special and then punish it to hit into his block. And then what I'm doing is I'm kind of backing off, building up to a striker, using the striker, and then using a heavy attack or a special attack to knock him down after the striker. And then I kind of start over and rinse and repeat there. So we talked a moment ago about not hitting into his block more than once. So he auto blocks after the special attack. You want to use that auto block to force a blocked hit from him. But you need to force yourself not to hit into his block more than once. If you do that, it's going to like overcharge that part of his armor, and he's going to trigger a reversal. It wasn't called a reversal back then, but that's essentially what it is. It's like a repulsor blast, and it knocks you down and gives you like a plasma debuff or something. Special attacks. His special attack 1, very easy. It's just 3 dexes. His special attacks 2 is fully dexable, but honestly, I don't push him to it a single time in this fight. I just never really feel a need to. He's very aggressive. It's easy to keep him in his corner for most of the fight. I never really need to push him to the special 2. So again, here we're in a phase transition, so I kind of have to do a blind intercept in order to trigger phase 3. In phase 3, you can see his armor all starts at different values. So you want to continue sticking to that same rotation that you were using, bait the special attack, hit into his block once, and then build up to your striker, use your striker, then knock him down with a heavier special attack, and then rinse and repeat. However, you need to be aware that since all of the armor is starting at different values, there's a good chance that the first one that you remove is going to fully recharge before you are able to get a second one down. And again, just as long as you stick with that rotation and just keep at it and are consistently removing one part of his armor at a time, eventually you will get them all down. And remember, once you break a piece of his armor, you break a second piece, and the breakage timer, or whatever you want to call it, refreshes for all of them. So that gives you additional time here with which to get the next piece down. So your spirit gain rate is very, very high in this fight, so you should have no problem getting a relic whenever you need it, or getting your striker meter full, I should say. I will say that there is a big difference between using a 5 or 6 star relic in this fight and a 3-star relic. So the higher rated relic you have on your champion of choice, the better off you're going to be. Now, when we move into the final phase here, it's different than the previous 2 fights. Once we kind of get through this last part of phase 3. So in the final phase, it's basically just you have to survive. So he's going to be fully unblockable, unstoppable, and you basically just need to sit there and wait, because he will eventually, his health will deteriorate, and when it gets down to 1%, he's inflicted with this permanent Intimidate passive, and then once he backs up and hits block, you hit into his block, and it deals 10 million damage. It's ridiculous here. So we're trying to again bait and intercept to transition into the final phase here. You can safely hit his block here. He's not unstoppable until the final phase. If you push him a bar of power, just remember you don't want to do a blind intercept when he has a bar. There we go. Finally, we've triggered the final phase, so his armor is basically all destroyed. You see that purple timer on the far right there, and you can see his health deteriorating very slowly. So it's basically just you got to try and you can stay aggressive, or you can just try and back off, and hopefully he isn't too aggressive. And once he gets the Intimidate hidden into his block, and you will deal the last bit of damage and come out with a victory. Alright, last but not least, Mr. Glacon, the most difficult boss of the 4 and the final boss in the Act 8 Crucible. For this fight, you really want champs with access to prowess, similar to what you wanted in the last phase of Saitalis. Storm is my favorite option for this fight. She has so much prowess because of the guaranteed crits in this fight. She's getting prowess on every hit, that she can really nuke through large sections of this fight very, very quickly. So in this fight, what you want to do is you want to build prowess by triggering punishments. So you see those bunch of icons there on his side of the screen. From left to right, it's parry or stun. The second one is hit block with the first light attack. The third one is striker. The fourth one is intercept. I pretty much ignore this one all the time. And then the last one is to use a special attack. As you perform these actions, those counters will increase. Once the icon turns orange, you cannot do that action again. So right there, it was bright orange. I couldn't hit him in his block with a first light attack again. And then if you build up to 12 of those, you get bonus prowess. And the idea here is you build up more and more prowess and then just chunk him down with these huge special attacks like you see I did just there. Now, if you manage to fully dex his special attacks, he will what's called relinquish some of those punishments, so the counters will end up going down. So the idea here is that you continue to trigger those punishments by doing these actions. You full dex his special attacks to lower the count, and that way you can just stack up more and more prowess. And eventually, one special attack is going to trigger the next phase. So in this fight, each phase is a full health bar. There are 3 total phases, I think. In this first phase, you can see I'm sticking to the special one. It's a pretty easy dex. You can out-damage the axe throw that he does there. The special 2 is easy as well, but I like the timing on the special one a lot better, especially for when we get into the final phase. So Once we move into the next phase here, we'll actually get a cutscene, so we'll get like a moment to prepare. In the second phase, he's going to only use a special attack when he has 2 bars of power, and then he will choose either his special 1 or his special 2 at random, 50% chance at each. The only way that you will be able to tell what special he's going to use is by the associated icon that he gets. So if he's using his special 1, he will get an unstoppable, which will be a yellow icon, yellow HUD text. If he's using his special 2, he will get a unblockable icon, purple text. So keep one eye on his side of the screen whenever you are ready to bait a special attack, and then you'll kind of know what to do. Again, the special 2 you can kind of just back up as far as you can, and then just dex the, he throws this like spinning axe at a very, very annoyingly slow pace. But the punishment window is very, very generous, so don't worry about that. And then the special 1, again, you can just work the timing on that axe throw that he does, and then like the teleports. And then in the final phase, when we get there, you're going to be rooted during all of the special attacks. So again, I like to stick to the special 1 in this fight just because, again, I think the timing is much better for me. You might disagree, that's fine, if you prefer the special 2. So in this phase, again, you are doing the punishments in the same way, from left to right, stun or parry, hit into his block with a light 1. Don't ever hit his block more than twice. If you accidentally trigger a punishment that's already at max stacks, he gets this like guaranteed evade charge. You cannot turn it off, you cannot prevent it. The next attack that you attempt is going to be evaded, and he's going to counterattack. And then if he has a special attack, he's almost certainly going to use it, and he's probably going to punch your face in, and you're probably going to die. So you really, really need to pay attention. Now with Storm in particular here, I'm not going for a lot of parries because I really want to get up to that big special 2, and the special 2 has a chance to stun, and I don't want to have him be at max stacks of the first punishment and have that special 2 trigger a stun and trigger that evade. In addition, I'm kind of still wary of like Blacksterity being a thing, so I want to like give myself enough of a buffer so that if I accidentally do parry him when I'm trying to dex back, I don't again accidentally trigger that evade and that counterattack here. So right there, I used one of my stuns up on that big special 2 that did a whole bunch of damage here, and now we're just kind of going. Again, I talked earlier, I completely ignore the intercept punishment. It's very annoying. It's more annoying in the final phase because the more stacks of the intercept punishment you have like a 30% chance per stack for your striker stun to fail. Very, very irritating. You'll see it happen at least once or twice, I think, in the final phase. But you just want to avoid that nonsense if at all possible. If you enter into this fight without a relic, it's not terrible. Not as punishing as it is in the Saras fight, but you can definitely get through this fight without a relic. But I would still recommend one just in case. What else am I trying to remember about this fight? So he only takes actual damage from combos that occur after punishing a heavy or a special attack. So you notice, like, if I just hit him normally, he's going to take 0 damage, but if I combo him after a heavy or special attack, he's taking G crits. And you can extend those combos with the striker as well. So you can do 5-hit combo striker, 5-hit combo special attack, and that's kind of your max damage. Now here we are in the final phase, and you notice all of the punishments are already at max stack, so we're kind of working in reverse here, and completing the required action will actually remove a stack of punishments, and then he will gain more when you fully dex the special attack. So in this phase, you kind of want to work from the right back to the left. So start with specials, intercept if you're feeling sassy, striker, hit his block, and then parry stun. There are associated kind of like side effects to having each of these, having a stack of each of these punishments. I can't remember them offhand. Highly recommend you go back and review my guide. I think I put a chart in that guide with everything that happens for each of these. But you can see the big problem in this fight, or this phase rather, is that we are being rooted during his special attacks. Getting the timing down for the special one, very, very important. If you take a blocked hit, then you're going to get those, what they're called Wounds of Defiance, which is like this energy passive that does like 3.5% of your health and damage. So, again, very, very punishing if you make mistakes, but not impossible, and again, not a fight where, at least until the final phase, where one mistake is going to kill you. Nice, huge special 2 there. That was beautiful. The guaranteed crits in this fight just makes Storm so good. Other good options, Nightcrawler should be pretty good, Dust should be good, Captain Britain should be good, Bishop is probably very good, anybody with prowess is going to be good, but on the other hand, you may want to go with like survivability. I remember using like King Groot for this fight when I was going through this content originally, just because the regen was so nice, and I was getting so much prowess from the fight anyways, it almost didn't matter. So a lot of different options you can do for this fight. Now, as we move into the final phase here, very difficult. So in the final phase, he's going to get this like indestructible passive for it's like a 14 or 15 seconds or something really long, just like the the OG Punisher does. And what you need to do here is basically just survive long enough. The problem is that if you take any hit, it's instant death. So right there, I got super lucky. I resisted his heavy. You are rooted during his heavies. You're still rooted during his specials. You want to avoid giving him a lot of power there. So there we go. Striker opening failed. We need to bait one more special attack, and then to kill him once the indestructible wears off, you need to bait a special or a heavy and finish him off. So hopefully this was helpful to everybody. If it was, please let me know in the comments below. Good luck in the Act 8 Crucible tomorrow. And again, I would highly encourage you to reference the guides that I have on the channel. I'll put the links down in the description below if you want a more detailed look at every one of these fights. So as always, thank you very much for watching. See you again next time.